What is up, everybody? Welcome into our weekly members Q&A. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL, but you know that already because you're members and you're amazing. And thank you so much for all of your love and support and amazing questions every single week. Means the world. So again, thank you for everything that you guys do to be sort of the lifeblood of this channel. For those of you who are joining after the case, make sure to check out those YouTube memberships. I do open this up afterwards, but always fun when you get to do it live and make sure that your questions get answered, which I do try to get to all of them during our members Q&As. We'll see if I can do that again today. I do have a pretty strict time limit today. I have a radio hit right at 1 right after this, so probably about 12:55-ish I'll need to head out. But again, we'll try to get to everyone's questions ahead of time. Todd, thank you so much for becoming a brand new YouTube member. Appreciate that a ton. Randy, Big Mike is right in town. They talked to him before the Parsons trade. 0% chance they bring him in as a consultant if the offense stays stuck in neutral. I would never say never on anything. You know, it is interesting that like Mike is right here in town. You know, he's attending high school football games. He's, again, been part of some of the alumni events. And Matt's always, brought in consultants like Robert Saleh. Now, he doesn't have that connection with Mike McCarthy in the way that he does with some of the other coaches. So I don't think it's super likely. I would also bet that Mike wants these next, month and a half to be preparing for job opportunities, not just in the NFL, but in college. And some of those opportunities in college were about a month away from opening up. So if I'm Mike, I probably don't have much interest in it, if I'm being honest. Like if you want, for the next couple weeks, if you wanted me to take a look at something and you wanted me to pay, or you wanted to pay me for it, yeah, like, sure, he probably has the ability to do something like that. I don't think anything like that is going to help the Packers all that much. So I don't think it really makes a ton of sense for both sides, to be honest. But you never know. It's almost like wrestling sometimes, where you never say never. Any storyline or anything is always an option. And in football, weird things happen. But I'd be pretty surprised if we got anything like that. Most hated Chicagoan. Happy Wednesday, Andy. Hope you had an enjoyable birthday. I did. Thank you so much for that. I was considering going to New York City for the weekend. Great dinner and show on Saturday night. Packers versus Giants on Sunday to avenge the DeVito loss. I had to sit through 2 years ago John Cena's final appearance at Madison Square Garden on Monday Night Raw. Find time to get a kangaroo burger as well. Could be an epic weekend if the Packers won the game. I'm not 2018 Andy Herman hoping Crosby misses the kick to get McCarthy out of there. Matt will do it all on his own over the next few weeks if this is his destiny. Until then, hoping for the best. Go Pack, go. Well, most hated Chicago, and if you can get to that game, it sounds like a ton of fun. Sounds like you'd have a great weekend planned. So if you do go, enjoy the heck out of the game. Yeah, I'm nowhere near that, and it isn't like sort of an interesting situation. Obviously, I was a huge McCarthy supporter. I still have a lot of faith in Matt LaFleur. That faith is certainly wavering a little bit over the last couple of weeks, that's for sure. But at the end of the McCarthy era, it was very clear and obvious time. This still, to me, is a pretty short blip in the radar, all things considered, over the entirety of Matt's career in Green Bay so far. But Matt also doesn't have the benefit, like Mike did, of winning a Super Bowl, and that buys you a lot of leeway. And Matt doesn't have that. So it's going to be an important, next month and a half, 2 months for Matt LaFleur to get this thing back on track, and then hopefully make that run in the playoffs. Questions are just going to persist. Even if they right the ship this year and they go on a win streak, right? Maybe they win the rest of their regular season games. If they go one and done in the playoffs, or even if they win the first round and they get to the conference championship or the divisional round and they lose by 17, something like that. Hell, even if they get to the Super Bowl and they lose the Super Bowl, the question will be, is Matt a Super Bowl winning coach? Can you win a Super Bowl with Matt, et cetera, et cetera? So that cloud is going to hang over his head, and clearly needs some things to go right here over the course of the next month and a half, 2 months to at least clear things a little bit and make things a little bit easier on him and certainly on this team. McManus' career field goal percentage, 81.4 his last 17 games, 81.4 last year was an aberration, and he's regressed back to the mean. Literally just good enough not to take a risk at more. Seems fitting. Yeah, I do wonder how much, one of those kicks was a block. Now the block was really low. That's on him as well. But I do wonder how much the injury is affecting him. He certainly looked good last year. Maybe it is a regression to the mean, Randy. That's within the realm of possibility, or maybe just the injury is really affecting him. Also, you're putting him out there for a 64-yarder, and I get there's been some long field goals made this year, and I get your other kicker, which still seems like an insane thing to say, kicked a 62-yarder earlier this year, but that's a tough one to kind of hang with. But the 40-yarders that he's missing just absolutely cannot happen. And if you have an injured kicker, maybe, and you actually have two kickers, which nobody does and nobody has, maybe use the healthy one. That would be my suggestion in that situation. Yeah, Nagler and I talked about that on Let's Talk Football for a while. The whole thing doesn't make sense of, is he healthy or is he not? And do you trust Haversick or do you not? Like this, there's a pretty easy decision-making matrix on this, right? If McManus isn't healthy and you trust Haversick, it's Haversick. If McManus isn't healthy and you don't trust Haversick, then you cut Haversick. Why is he on the team? If your kicker's not healthy and you're still not going to use the healthy guy, get him the hell off the team. Why is he taking up a 53-man roster spot? If McManus is healthy and you trust Haversick, maybe you're in this weird situation where you keep two for the time being just to make sure that things get better with McManus, but you probably just boot Haversick at that point. And if McManus is healthy and you don't trust Haversick, again, you get rid of Haversick. There's no real through line to keeping McManus, keeping Haversick, and not using Haversick and keeping him on the 53. It doesn't make any damn sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know what they're doing with that situation, but everything they've done with that has seemed really, really stupid. Happy birthday, Andy. Thank you so much, Richard. Appreciate that. The injury to Elton really sucks, but did Sean Ryan look much better at center and can he be a long-term solution? Richard, I always hate punting on super chats or member questions, especially during our members Q&A. I've not watched the all 22 of the offense yet and graded that out. I will be doing that today and tomorrow. And then Friday morning's episode will be the grades episode. So I will go into that in detail and I'll make sure to cover the Sean Ryan at center snaps and how he kind of performed during that time at center and how, if it was better or worse than what Elton was doing at center. So at first glance, I thought Sean Ryan did a fine job at center, and hopefully that's something that maybe can work for Green Bay. But in general, even though Elton's had a rough season, I don't think that's going to be losing Elton. I don't think is going to be the answer to solving the woes of this offensive line. But I promise I'll grade that for you this week, and we'll definitely get you an update on that on Friday's episode. Did we ever get an answer as to why Nixon isn't on kick return? If not, please name Price to go to the press conference and ask. It's driving me nuts. As far as I know, we did not. I don't, with this being a short week, I do not think I'm going to get to a press conference this week. If I do, it would absolutely be 1A on my list of things to ask. So I have not seen that asked. I do not think we got a final answer on it. And if I do get an opportunity, either with going to Matt's or Rich's, I will absolutely ask that question. Hopefully sometime here I'll be able to get to one, but it's not looking great this week based on what my schedule is looking like right now. Was Josh Myers handling protection checks at the line and Jordan Elton just aren't as good at it? I do believe that Josh was the one that was in charge of some of those checks. Outside of the Panthers game, I haven't seen the checks at the line being a major issue. So usually where you're looking for, checks being an issue are really quick breakdowns where you're getting a free rusher. There were 2 against Carolina. Outside of that, it hasn't happened a ton. It's certainly not out of the realm of a normal extent where, once every now and again, a defense is going to pull one over on you, right? So I personally don't think that that's been an issue, but now with Sean Ryan there, that's going to be interesting. And who's communicating the checks up front? That'd be another good question for Matt, this week, if again, if I can get there, if somebody wants to ask it, but I haven't seen it be a major issue so far, but again, now with Elton out, it might be worth keeping an eye on for sure. The funny thing about Sean Ryan is that he plays well as a rotational player. His worst games are when he gets all the reps or all the snaps. Hope that only applies to guard because he is only a center now. I think to me, what you're seeing there, most hated Chicagoan, is Sean Ryan's been good in spurts, but maybe the most inconsistent player on the team. Even going back to last year, I had games where Sean Ryan was one of my best graded players in the game. And I had a decent amount of games where he was one of the lowest graded players in the game. And you just, from even drive to drive or game to game, you're never quite sure what Sean Ryan's showing up. Like good Sean Ryan. Good Sean Ryan's in the conversation, in my opinion, for like best offensive lineman on the team. Sincerely. Like I get Josh Sitton vibes when I see good Sean Ryan, like legitimately. But we also see a lot of bad Sean Ryan, and bad Sean Ryan is really bad. And you're it's just like, it's like Two-Face. You just flip a coin. Are we going to block all out and look like an all pro, or are we just going to let a pressure immediately through or completely miss our block? It's mind numbing sometimes. And if he ever got that level of consistency, he'd be a damn good offensive lineman in the NFL. But right now it's just very, very inconsistent. On the film, if the opponent's defense presents a light box and here Jordan Yell can, are they just teeing off on the run? If so, could we put some dummy calls into hard play action on tape? I haven't seen anything where they go. There was a can this past week that was a pass, by the way. So I had somebody message me as well of like, anytime they can, it's a run. That's not the case. Also, what we could be seeing as well is a run play that has a left or right side, connotation as well. And it could be a left side, stretch play that you're canning to a right play, stretch play, things like that. We don't know. So it could be a run to a run, right? They're going run either way. Could be a pass to a pass. A can call does not necessarily go from a run to a pass or a pass to a run. You're just canning one thing and going to the next. It could be a pass to a different pass. It could be a run to a different run. It does seem like when he's canning things, it is more run oriented. I will absolutely agree with that. I do think Green Bay needs to almost get out of their binary checks and balances of if this, then this, because it feels like defenses are all over it right now. If you stack the box with 8 players and they're in a 2 wide receiver stack set, they're going to throw the screen. Like it feels like a given at this point of like, that's what they're going to do. So I think Green Bay needs to, flip some things on its head. I think defenses have a pretty good read of what Green Bay's doing at the moment. So they have to take some of the stuff that has been working for them for a really long time, and they might need to dump a lot of it, or at least prey on it. Meaning, all right, we're going to show a heavy run with 2 wide receivers stacked to the side, and then we're going to pump the wide receiver screen, get the player to bite, and we're going to try to hit the deep play behind it. Can you do something like that? I think those are things that they're going to have to try a little bit more. And here's the thing, it's so funny because there's a lot of consternation on Matt, which again, some of it more than well deserved. I think it's almost, if I had to put like a piece on this, I think Matt covered for some of the deficiencies on this offense by being able to scheme open some things and by being able to get some really advantageous looks against opposing defenses, and by building this offense that had a lot of optionality, where if the defense showed one thing, then the offense had the ability to get to the other thing that was going to be advantageous. And I think now teams have caught up with all of that, and you're not seeing the ability to scheme open players, and you're seeing some of these immediate checks where defenses again are kind of reading it like a book. Maybe you can argue that that's a lack of evolution. I think that's a fair argument, but I think some of that stuff maybe in the past sort of covered for, what was bad execution or some of the bad blocking or some of the bad routes or things like that. Matt would be able to get some of those plays that you didn't need great blocking, you didn't need great routes. He was just kind of outsmarting the defensive coordinator on some plays. And now when he's not outsmarting the defensive coordinator and you just have to go and play and just execute and grind out a game, we have not seen Green Bay be able to do that. And certainly have not really been able to see them do that against good opponents over the last couple of years. So as much as I would like to say, like, yeah, I think they need to, get away. The big core of this is that this is attention to detail and core concept stuff. This is blocking 101. This is route running 101. Like, they've got to be able to run crisp routes, catch the ball when it's thrown to them, and make sure you're blocking everything up front, both in the run game and the passing game. You can't out scheme your way out of this one. You have to get back to the fundamentals, and this offensive line has to block better, and the receivers need to do a better job of getting open and running with more precision. We saw guys running into each other again this past week. Like that's where the fix needs to come. It can't just be like Matt spending a bunch of time in his office designing new plays or new, checks on top of things. It's got to be like, hey, yeah, we know they're, exactly what they're going to, we need to just be able to run the ball in this situation. We better be able to execute our blocks up front. And right now they're not. So to me, this comes down to execution and fundamentals, and less so the X's and O's of everything. But we'll see. Is there a specific type of run that the line is blocked better for, or is this just bad across the board? I think in general, the blocking's been bad across the board. We saw some of the pitch plays work last week. We've seen a lot of the pitch plays go for absolutely nothing or negative yards. We saw some, inside power stuff that worked. We've seen some inside power stuff that's gone for 0 to negative yardage as well. So to me, it's a across the board, and it's a consistency thing. What we have not seen is their shotgun inside zone do almost anything, right? So, and it's one of their core plays. And if it's going to be your core play, you better be able to run it effectively. And right now, Green Bay absolutely cannot. The piss is cold and the seat is hot because of the O-line regression and personnel usage decisions. But to give Matt credit, we're due. Benching Hobbs for CV seems to be paying off. Yeah, I would give more credit there, save for the fact that CV was playing well at the beginning of the year. And then you bench CV for Hobbs, which seemed like a bad decision when CV was playing well. And then a few weeks ago, you benched Hobbs entirely, and CV played well in that game. And then the next game against Carolina, you started rotating him again, and it didn't make any sense. So although Hobbs played fine in that game and CV wasn't perfect in that game, so it kind of worked out, but it still made no sense to me. And then Hobbs is out this game and Valentine plays great. So I would love to give a little bit more credit there, but maybe just stick with the hot hand when the hot hand was already doing well, and don't bench your good corner. That's clearly, to me, been your best corner so far this season. Super stoked to see Ryan at center. Elton really was not good there. Curious to see if Ryan can give us a bump. If so, you think he plays into a 1-year prove-it deal for himself? I am interested to see what Sean Ryan can do at center as well. And Elton was not good there. So if Sean Ryan can even be like status quo, or just even, that might be better, which maybe that's a way to improve this offensive line. We'll see. Your second part of the question, no, I do not think Sean Ryan will be in any situation to be a prove-it-year deal. Sean Ryan is probably at the same level, if not maybe even a little bit better than John Runyon Jr. when Runyon Jr. left, and Runyon got a 3-year, $30 million deal. Like, offensive linemen in free agency get paid. Like, bad offensive linemen in free agency get paid. You just can't have enough. And Sean Ryan showed some really good stuff on tape. Even if it's not consistent, there will be an offensive line coach somewhere that says, yeah, I'm going to be able to turn that guy into like a Pro Bowl caliber player. And so I don't think there's any chance anybody's getting him on a 1-year prove-it deal. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm evaluating him incorrectly. Maybe he ends up with like a 1-year, $5 million deal somewhere. Maybe he ends up closer to Josh Myers than he does John Runyon Jr. But I think he's probably closer to that John Runyon Jr. 3-year, $30 million type of deal on an open market. But we'll see. Thanks for sharing about beat writers the other day. Absolutely no clue. Those guys like Rob aren't even Packer fans. That's the first time I ever heard of that. Why do you think they get the rep of being nice? I don't know. There is a different level of media in Green Bay than there is in like a New York City. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. To be honest, the New York media is one of the harshest that you can get. How is that working for all the New York sports teams? The Jets I'm not, to be very, very clear, I'm not blaming the New York sports team's losses on the media. I'm just saying if holding the teams accountable by harsher media is supposed to help, it certainly doesn't work that way in New York. Knicks, Giants, Jets, Mets, even the Yankees. Like I've not won much as of late. Maybe the Yankees have won sooner than what I'm thinking, but it's certainly in the football and basketball markets, it's been really, really tough for those teams. The Nets. So, to me, like having some level of respect while also doing your job and asking fair and harsh questions is where you want that to be. And I think overall I'm not including myself in that again, does a good job of that. Matt Schneidman, This is the first week where it was a fair question to ask Matt about his job security and things like that. Or if somebody, I will be willing to bet you that Wildy this week, if not Wildy somebody, but I bet you Wildy this week asks if Matt LaFleur is considered giving up play calling. I saw Wildy tweet something to the effect of, that's not the question that you want to ask right after the game, because he hasn't had no time to think about that. Like, what after the game, he's going to say, he's going to blow it off and be like, I just got done with the game. I haven't even thought of any, we're on to New York, etc. You're not going to get a good answer. If you ask him it during the week, you might get something different of like, we've had some conversations about that, or, at this time, no, I don't have any plans of doing that. There's a time and a place for certain questions as well. And I think overall, Matt and Jason and Rob and Pete and those guys do a good job of knowing the time and the place to ask those questions. If you would have asked Matt about his job security at 5-1-1, prior to the Panthers game, you look like an insane person. Look at the national media, to a large degree so far, are now getting like wind of this, like Matt LaFleur, the hot seat thing. And to a T, like almost everyone is like, what are you talking about? Like, you do not want to do that. That's a really bad idea. From a national media narrative standpoint of like, no, there's no way you would let Matt LaFleur go. If you would ask it at 5-1-1, you look like a crazy person. So this was, and even after like one loss to Carolina, you get one, sort of real you're 5-2-1, and you had one, bad game where you lost by 3 points in your last like 4 weeks. And now is Matt going to get fired? You look like a crazy person. This week, after, 2 consecutive losses at home, you're sitting at 5-3-1, and you have super high expectations. Now, this is the first week that you could probably ask something like that and have it be like a fair question. And the very first opportunity that there was for right or wrong, better or worse, Matt asked it. I thought Matt was fair to ask it. So I don't understand this idea of like, it's only sunshine and rainbows and fair and easy questions. I think there's a way to get the answers that you're looking for while still being respectful along the way. And then when the hard questions need to get asked, again, we've seen those questions get asked. So yeah, I don't understand it, if I'm being honest. Went through the playoff predictor app online. There's a really real scenario. Green Bay could miss the playoffs if they keep messing around. San Francisco has an easy schedule. Rams, Seahawks win the other. Wild card leaves only one spot. Yeah, it's real. It's very real. I mean, it could come like Packers Bears is like a real thing. Like that's going to be very important. If things go chalk this week, though, they're on top of the NFC North. Green Bay's expected to beat New York. Right now, Chicago is an underdog to Minnesota, and Detroit's an underdog to Philly. If everything goes chalk this week, Green Bay's number 1 in the NFC North after this week. So we'll see. Green Bay knows the stakes. They know it, is on the table for them. And I talk to Nagler about this today. I want to see this team play pissed off. I want to see them have some urgency. I want to see them, come out and play to the level that they're capable of. We'll see if they do that this week. It'd be nice to see. Imagine they fire Matt, then promote Bisaccia to head coach. Just kidding, but really, could you imagine how the fan base would react? I know it would never happen. Just funny to think about. It's not like if they fired Matt, the Jeff is the obvious, answer there, right? But what if Jeff is like, no, I just want to call the defense. I actually don't. I'm not interested in taking an interim head coach job. Which, by the way, that might sound crazy. If Jeff has head coaching desire in the NFL, and, maybe even he's thinking like, hey, college is different now. Maybe I'm going to seek out a college head coaching job in the offseason. Him going out and taking the interim head coaching job with like 3 or 4 games left. And if all of a sudden they go like 1-3, 0-4, how does that reflect on him? He might say, guys, I just really need to focus in on the defense. I don't think it's best for me to take the head coaching job at this point. There's probably more bad at stake than good at stake for Jeff Hafley in that situation. So he might say, no, I'm good. Let Rich do it. He's had interim head coaching experience in the past. That makes sense. I'll continue to do the defensive stuff. Steno can call the plays. Rich can be the figurehead, and you promote your assistant special teams coach to head special teams coordinator. Yes, head special teams coordinator. There's a real chance that something like that could happen. No, that's in the mostly unreal chance that Matt gets fired. But in the event that Matt would, which again, I think is unrealistic, especially if there's only like 2-3 games left, I honestly think there's a decent chance that it would be Rich. How does it feel to get a pity subscription from Ziggy? It was very kind of Ziggy. I appreciate him. Those guys are awesome. I love working with them. Go out and support them as well. Good people. It's fun to be able to talk football with one of my favorite things. One of my best friends is a Bears fan. I love talking Bears Packers with him. It's a ton of fun. And I have that same feel with, Ziggy and Paul of like, we just get to talk football. All we see sometimes online is like the loud, obnoxious fans on both sides. Just, it's just like, just talk football, have fun. It's been a ton of, and like they'll throw jabs at Green Bay and I'll throw jabs at Minnesota from time to time, but it's all in good fun. And right now, neither fan base has a ton to be super excited about at the moment or to talk smack at the moment. So it's been really fun. It's been really good. Can you explain why it has to be? It doesn't. So it doesn't have to be that way, but the defense does dictate it to some extent. So here's what I mean. In the simplest of terms, too high safety looks, spread thin, spread wide. You've got your full offensive line, tight end, running back, quarterback in the box. They have a 7-man box. You've got a 5-man line and a tight end to block. You're blocking 6 on 7. That may not sound great, but that's about as good as you're going to get in the NFL. You have to be able to run against that. You're going like 6 on 8 if that safety's in the box, and that makes it really tough. Now they've got a 2-man advantage. So when they're presenting that to you, you really need to get that safety to come down in the box so then you can throw the football a little bit better. When when those too high safeties are deep, it just limits it. And you might, well, why is that? All right, so let's kind of dig through that as well. Your two safeties are deep, so anytime you throw the ball down the field, they have vision on everything, right? So they're going to see where you're throwing, they're going to jump everything, and they're coming downhill to make a play on the ball rather than your receiver who's trying to go make a play on it. It just makes it tough. Plus, a lot of times you have a corner that's going to be involved making a play, so a lot of times you're throwing into double coverage in some of those plays. So it makes it really difficult. And because you have two safeties high, what it also allows you to do a lot of times is the corners to play underneath more. You're not afraid of getting beat over the top because you have safeties over the top on both sides protecting you. So corners can jump a little bit more. They can play more physical. They can play more underneath, which takes away some of those short and intermediate routes because the corners are all over it. Because they don't have to be worried. If you don't have a safety over the top of you, now your number one concern is getting beat deep. Now with safety over the top, you don't have to worry about that. I've got a cleaner on the back end. If I make a mistake or if they beat me off the line, my safety is going to clean that up for me. I need to make sure that I don't get beat quick. I need to make sure that I don't get beat off the line or, allow an immediate completion. That's what I'm making sure that I'm doing. So it limits, it limits what a corner is worried about, allows them to play a little bit more physical and aggressive. This is all in its simplest terms, right? There's obviously a ton of nuance on top of this, but once you see the too high corners playing up and aggressive, plus you've got, linebackers that are playing zone defense over the middle. You've usually got a couple guys there. Just, it doesn't allow you a lot of places to throw the ball. So you want to see, again, that safety come up. Now it really does open everything. Now corners are playing differently on the outsides. Maybe now they're worried about the deep ball so you can get some of those slants and ins and digs and everything else, right? Or maybe you can just beat them deep. It changes the complexion of everything when you can't run the ball. So when you see that, you want to set run, and now you're running the ball effectively. So the other thing that happens too, again, in its very simplest terms, like take that one of the funniest plays this past game, and it worked. It worked to an extent. They got a big play to Christian Watson over the middle, but it was the third down. They're down by 10. It's 3rd and 10, and Green Bay goes play action. It's the funniest thing in the world. Like nobody in their right mind is ever buying the run in that situation. The play action is just a wasted movement. And you see the play action and the linebackers are dropping to depth. They don't even react to the fake handoff at all. They do not care. Be our guest, hand off the ball. And so right now, linebackers are dropping to pass depth. And then if it's a run, they'll react afterwards. And what you want to get is on a handoff, teams being worried about your running game. So those linebackers are screaming down, and you've got a safety maybe screaming down, or safety already in the box, and they're all flowing one way to the run. And now that's when you get the opportunity to play action off of that. And some of those tight ends and receivers are, getting the misdirection ability of everyone's flowing one way, and now you come back and throw the other. And that's where Musgraver and the pass craft is going to pop out on the other side. What you're seeing a lot right now is Green Bay goes fake handoff, and those linebackers are still getting to pass depth. They're not even react. If you want to run the ball, awesome, great. Can you even make it past our front four guys? Until you start doing that, we're just going to stay at pass depth, because we know you can't beat us with the run. We know you. So even if you pick up a 6-yard gain or something, that's fine. Eventually, you're going to try a play action fake, and we're just going to be all over it because we're not buying all of your play action crap. So if you can't run the ball, too high safeties, tough deep looks on the outside, corners get to play more aggressive. Linebackers, or if there even is a safety in the box, aren't buying your play action crap. Now, that's the general gist of it. However, statistically so far, when Green Bay has gone play action, they've been phenomenal. They've been phenomenal. And for the last few weeks, Green Bay's just stopped using it. So that's a Matt thing. And they still need to do more of it. Regardless of whether or not teams are biting on it or not, they need to do more of it. That's what's been working for them. So they have to get back to their play action game. But in a general sense, you have to earn your way to those plays, because otherwise linebackers and defensive backs are just sitting at depth. They're not caring about your run. And now you've just basically kind of like wasted time, right? Because you've wasted time faking the handoff. And now the defense is more set than they were because you waited for the time to get into your pass play, and everyone didn't buy it anyway. So you've just given them more time to get set defensively. And you've turned your back to the defense. And now things might have changed while you've turned your back to the defense. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can come out aggressively passing, and, but the last thing I'll end with here, Chili Cheese, is Green Bay doesn't need to pass to set up the run. They are set up as well as you can to run the football right now. Teams are playing them wide and deep. You're not going to get better run looks, which is why Matt continues to call it, because he's getting phenomenal looks. You have Josh Jacobs into light boxes in a spread out defense. That should work, but they can't block it. They can't block it, which really freaking sucks. So yeah, I don't know if early in the game, just get your heavy guys out there, get all your light offensive linemen that aren't run blocking, maybe I don't know, maybe Sean is at center, and maybe you're going to go, Banks and maybe like Kennard at guard. And then maybe you go Belton and Tom at tacklers. I don't know, but maybe you get your best run blockers out there first and say, hey, if you're going to call it this way, and then maybe use a 6th offensive lineman as well. If you're going to call it this way, where you're staying in 2 high safeties and you're going to dare us to run the football, and you're not going to react to any play action stuff or anything like that, we're going to go 6 offensive linemen. We're going to put our 6 heaviest guys, like best run blocker. It doesn't need to be heaviest. 6 best run blockers out on the field. And we're going to put Josh Jacobs in. We're going to put John Fitzpatrick at tight end. And we're going to put, Matthew Golden in motion, and maybe that, as like a potential fake jet sweep. And then we're just going to try to blow you off the ball. And if you don't start reacting to that, we're just going to keep running it on you, assuming they can run it with that. I don't know, but that's why the way the defenses are playing, they don't need to pass to set up the run. It's set up already. They just can't do it. So they really need to be able to run right now based on what they're given to be able to get to more of their offense. And right now they just have not been able to do it. I'm done with the Aaron Banks experience. O-line was fine last year. His addition has destroyed this offense. I think that's over aggressive, Luke. I think he was really bad. Again, I want to go and grade this game first before I say that, but by all accounts, and certainly by PFF's account, I know he had a really awful game this week. I didn't think he played poorly up until that point, other than his very first game when he was very clearly beat up in that game. Every other game he's graded out well by both myself and PFF so far, at least like fine, right? Maybe not great, but at least fine. And a couple games even pretty good. So I think putting this all on Aaron Banks would be misleading. This past week, he may have been one of the biggest culprits. And if that continues to play, well, then yeah, we need to have a conversation. But this past week, seems to be more of the one-off ever since that first game where he was very clearly not himself and injured. This seems to be more of the one-off than where he'd been at prior the last 3-4 weeks before this. If Matt is so determined to establish the run, what are your thoughts of getting Belton in at right guard? Yeah, we just talked about that. Get the big bodies in. I'm not against it. Also, do you think Matt giving up play calling would do any good? What's your level of confidence the offense gets back on track? Again, I know we all want an easy fix, and I'm mostly with you guys in the fact of like time to start throwing some crap at the wall, whether that's play calling, whether that's new offensive linemen, whether that's a new way to utilize players, or again, just using your best players a little bit more. I'm all for having those conversations. I really am. I just think at the end of the day, there is no easy fix for any of this. This comes down to you are going to have to grind out in practice and with your guys some of the fundamental stuff on the offensive line and getting those guys performing at a much higher level and reaching their expectation. Same thing with some of the stuff with the wide receivers, but it's much more a offensive line issue at the moment. I said it the other week, which is why I'm like, hey, get Steno in that offensive line room. Do whatever you need. Get Matt in the offense. Get whoever you need. If this offensive line continues to play as is, there's no chance of anything. I don't care if they make the playoffs. I really don't. They're dead if this offensive line plays like this. It's a fool's errand. You could have the ball, you get 2 fumbles a game just on rare happenstance. I still don't think they have the ability to win consistently with this level of play at the offensive line. So right now, I honestly, I don't care if Bill Belichick or whoever your greatest, coach and play caller are of all time, and Tom Brady's at quarterback, or prime Aaron Rodgers, or prime Mahomes, or prime Allen, or whoever the hell you want, prime Marino, Elway, Favre. I don't care who you want at quarterback. I honestly think with this offensive line, you're going to run into the same issues because you can't run, and the passing game is going to suffer because of it. It's going to make it very difficult. So that is where I start. It doesn't absolve some of the quarterback play, the play calling. And again, I think at some point, try some stuff, see if it works. But the biggest issue to me is fundamental along the offensive line, and they've got to find a way to get it fixed. And that's not an easy thing to do. Also, the play where the Eagle D-line called out the 4th down play is laughable. I'm mostly on the side that think firing Matt is stupid, but when those plays happen, it's a microcosm. I talked about this on the live show the other day. If you are a fire Matt person, you take that play. The defense is calling out the play ahead of time. You have no way to check out of it, call a timeout, or you're none of your guys are reacting to it. They just decide to run the play anyway. Your offensive line gets blown off the ball. You have a 4-yard loss on the play and a fumble, and your team was lined up incorrectly, where even if Josh Jacobs picked up the first down, now it's 4th and 6. That's as bad as it gets. That one play is as simply as put, as bad as it gets in the NFL. Now, the fumble was Josh Jacobs trying to pitch the ball to Jordan Love to keep the play alive, which is a super smart play on his part. Like unbelievably heads up, like get the ball to Jordan, see if he can do something. You're going down. You can't turn the ball over in that situation. It's game over. The fumble doesn't matter there, but everything else is as laughably bad as it can get on a 1-play scenario with the game on the line. So yeah, like I said, if you are pro firing Matt LaFleur and you're the attorney to present the case, that play is 1A. Either your closer, it's either your opener or your closer. It's probably your closer, and you say, "I rest my case, Your Honor." Like that's where you're leaving it. That again is as bad as it gets from an offensive standpoint. All right, I have to do a little bit lightning round here because I've only got about 18 minutes left here. In the middle of the Dom Capers tenure, it seemed a lot of people were calling for his head, and we hung on to him a few more years. I worry we are the same situation with Matt LaFleur right now. Any thoughts on that? This is why, again, you want stretches of time, right? They clearly held on to Dom too long. They held on to, some of their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, clearly a year too long. I think there was a special teams coordinator too, where they held on to clearly a year too long. They have to make those decisions when it's right. Right now, I still don't think you have, even though we talked about that last play, I don't think you have a firm case of like, yep, Matt's the core problem here. This is or it can't be fixed, right? I do think the rest of these games this season will give you the evidence that you need. If this is a 3 and what are they at 5-2-1? what, 8 games in? Oh, no, 5-3-1? 5-3-1. So 9 games in. So what, 8 games, 8 regular season games left? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 8 regular season games left. So if they go, 2-6 in those games, or 3-5, but the 3 wins are, maybe they get a 3-point win against the Giants this week. Maybe they get a 3-point win against Minnesota the next week, go on a huge 5-game losing streak against their good opponents, and then win a meaningless game that meant nothing, which is a borderline preseason game in the final one. And it's, doesn't even matter at that point. Game wasn't even being played to make the playoffs. There you go. Then you probably have some of the information that you need to know to make that decision. If they go 7-1 the rest of the way, get to the NFC Championship game or something, all right, we probably know our answer there too. I know we all want sometimes when you make those immediate gut reactions is when you make your worst mistakes, and then you go on to regret it. I really truly believe one of the biggest things I can say that I really truly believe is that there's no better outcome that you're going to get this season by firing Matt. I don't think putting Rich or even Jeff or Steno or whoever you want to put in that spot the rest of this year, I don't think makes you a better team. I really, really don't. And even if it gives you that quick bump right away and maybe you get something out of it, I don't think it's sustainable. And then you probably just fire that, you nuke everything, you go with a new coaching staff in the offseason, and then you have to almost rebuild things up, right? So I don't think that there's anything that you're going to get out of it doing right now, other than if you want that immediate satisfaction of, we fired him. So let's see where this goes. Let it play out this year, at least for now, unless again, he goes 6-7 game losing streak, loses the locker room, something like that. Let it play out this year, and let's see where the chips fall. And I think Matt has earned that right and earned that opportunity. And if it goes great, awesome. All the firing stuff is going to look really, really stupid. And if it goes terrible, all right, you kind of have your answer, right? And then you're convicted in that decision. I think maybe the worst place that you could end up is this team goes 5-3, mediocre football the rest of the way. They get into the playoffs, face a team like Philly again, lose in a similar way that they did last year. And then they decide, all right, we're not going to extend Matt, but we're going to let him play out one more year. But we want him to bring on a new offensive coordinator. So maybe a Mike McDaniel's the offensive coordinator. I think that's where you end up more in that no man's land situation of is this really going to change anything? And that's probably where you're better to say, hey, either rip the Band-Aid or go all in, figure it out one way. Don't halfway this thing. But I think the rest of the season is going to be a perfect petri dish to watch everything develop and look under the microscope and say, where's this team at? The expectations were clear. It's time to start winning championships. If the expectation is it's time to start winning championships, and then you go get Micah Parsons and you don't make the playoffs, all right, fell well short of that expectation. And then you probably need to have that conversation, or maybe even again, do the deed. But I think the rest of the season is a great evaluator for where this team is at. And we're about to find out a lot about this team. There's no reason CV should be kept off the field for the remainder of the season. Love the energy the secondary has when he's on the field. Richard, I'm in total agreement. He's been their best corner so far. At least we have a high draft pick if that continues, right? Joking, of course. You do the Micah trade every time. Yeah, they could get that second round pick, though, if they miss the playoffs. What, into maybe the low 50s, the 50s? So 32, if they're 14 teams? So the 18th teams. Yeah, so you could get a pick 50 if you were the last team that didn't make the playoffs or whatever. Pick 49, pick 50 in the second round. It's almost like a premium selection. So do you tank for that 33rd pick? Do you have to start tanking for pick 33? Nah, I'd say in jest, obviously, but hopefully they're picking 64th with that very first pick. Sticking with a veteran kicker, fine. Playing him will hurt. With another kicker on the roster, bad. Misrepresenting his injury status in order to avoid talk of a competition, terrible. Bad look. This supports my belief that this coaching staff plays their guys over the guys playing their best ball until their guys play so badly they have no choice. Hobbs, Bullard over Williams, Morgan. I think there's probably a little bit to that. That might be a little bit of oversimplification, but I don't necessarily think you're wrong either, John. I think sometimes it's good to go with the players that are being successful. And right now you've got an injured kicker and it makes no sense whatsoever. Need to do something to that line to get it rejuvenated. Belton in for Morgan. I don't care at this point. I will say, I want to grade Morgan this week to see, but I think if there's one that you need to sit down, I think it's Morgan. That gets more complicated with Ryan now at center, but I'm whether it's Kennard or whether it's Belton or something, I think that's probably where I'm at a little bit more of, do you try something different there and get a different spot at that right guard position? That's where I'm at as well. I'm behind enemy lines. Paul said our teams combined. Watch out. What team would you take? Packers, Vikings, or Lions, Bears? Probably take Lions, Bears, to be honest. I'd have to go through it and go like position by position. I mean, certainly Vikings have some really good offensive linemen. You get Justin Jefferson, Van Ginkel on defense with some of the stuff that obviously Micah does, Grenard as well. Yeah. Plus you get Flores and you get, O'Connell helping out things as well, but you get Ben Johnson back with that group. How many players does Chicago really add to Detroit? That's an interesting conversation, but it's really interesting. The more I think about it, maybe I do go Packers, Vikings, because I think some of the offensive line and receivers really fix the Packers' ails, and they've got kind of everything else they need, and you get some really fun, defensive looks. Brian Flores and Jeff Hafley working together is fun too. So maybe I will go Packers, Vikings. Packers are cheapo, paying position coaches and coordinators, even though they are paying Banks $20 million, Hobbs 12. Make it make sense. The season might be different with a better offensive line coach. Maybe. I do think that's something, but they've paid more to Bisaccia and coordinators and coaches that they've wanted lately. It maybe it's a piece of the problem, but I certainly don't think it's their main problem at the moment. Remember the first half of Jordan's first half year was pretty bad, the offense as a whole. I remember, there we go. And they eventually bounced back. What was the offense? Was the offense that bad? Do you see a similar comeback to be again, at least that competent? We'll see, Sebastian. I think it's going to take better blocking. I thought they handcuffed Jordan the first half of of 2023 and then kind of just are like, hey, go play. And that's when things took off. Right now, I just think they have to get the offensive line playing better. Winston starting has me legit scared about this game. I also find Justice's comment about Matt LaFleur possibly learning the wrong lessons from New York Giants' bad run defense was very funny. And Justice is always on top of it. And Winston, I just did this for Bleacher Report as well. The Giants are introducing chaos into this game with a new coach and a new quarterback. And that's the last thing Green Bay wants is chaos. It's going to be a very interesting game. Ellie, thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate that a ton. Do you think the Packers should have a consultation? I think Mike Wall would be awesome if he was on the staff. I think he would do them very, very well. I really, truly believe that. Haven't been one to want to fire LaFleur because are we going to get that's better? But Monday is making me question that. The kicker situation has been nuts. Also, the shotgun runs on fourth down. Some things Matt clearly needs to clean up. Those are two things that are on top of the list. And again, I think for the most part, this is an off-season conversation. I don't think it's a conversation in season. But Matt's not doing himself any favors at the moment. Drew, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Do you think we see LaFleur give up play calling? I don't think this week, no. If things continue to get worse, I would think that would be maybe something that would be on the table. Can you go into more detail why the run game isn't working? Defensive line penetration, failing to climb to the second level. It's all of it. Attention to detail, fundamentals, not able to move people, being too predictable. It's all of the above. It's literally all of the above. Poor leverage, poor hand placement, poor footwork. You can go on. It's all of the above. Just bad offensive line play. Surprised more heat from the fan base isn't aimed at Goody between the free agents and underperforming early picks. Feels like Goody should take some blame from Matt LaFleur. I do think the offensive line issues, which is 1A on the team, you spend a first-round pick on Morgan, second-round pick on Belton, huge contract on Aaron Banks. Can't be this bad. Goody deserves a fair share of the blame for that aspect of what is right now the biggest issue. The second biggest issue is corner. Hobbs is a miss, and they haven't done anything in the draft in recent years. Valentine in the 7th is a good pick, but that's one that you more get lucky on than anything. It's a skill and luck thing. He shouldn't have been there in the 7th, and anytime you're expecting a 7th round pick to be your savior, that's probably a bad thing. But I think corner and offensive line, Goody deserves his fair share of criticism at the moment. you think it makes sense to at least try Zach Tom at center? Again, I don't think anything scheme or player position swaps or anything are what fixes this. I think we always want the easy fix, and usually it's the hard work you have to put in to fix it, right? I think this is the hard work thing that you have to do. I don't think there's any Band-Aid that you can place on there might be a couple Band-Aids that make things slightly better, but get you to the same final destination. It's going to take hard work to fix this. It's not just moving a player one spot to another. Am I ready to try some crap? Sure. If you want to try something with it, go for it. Be my guest. Do I think that ultimately solves the problem? I really don't. Ellie, thank you for the super chat. Am I losing my mind? I see 28% chance of Packers winning the division. I'd argue they are in the driver's seat, beat the Bears plus Vikings twice, auto 1-4 seed. They have every right to go out and win the division. Detroit has a tough game against Philly this week. That Thanksgiving game is going to be huge. And more importantly than anything, I don't really care what Detroit, Minnesota, or Chicago is doing at the moment. Green Bay has to play a better brand of football if they want to be the division leaders. Oh, I am going to be way off on hitting my every question here today. Do you think we have a playoff offense? Seeing we've got a Super Bowl defense right now, they do not have a playoff offense. No, they need to get way better on offense. Matt LaFleur continues the current trajectory. Would you hate Halfley at head coach and Mike McDaniels as offensive coordinator? Other alternatives? P.S. I hope Matt LaFleur just figures out how to get the line to play their best. David, if Matt LaFleur is gone, I want a fully extensive coaching search to find the best guy and not just immediately plugging in Halfley and finding a new offensive coordinator. I want full vesting of everybody that would be available to try to find the best player or best coach for the job. Does he get to all super chats? I'm new to this. I will get to all the super chats for sure. I usually on the members Q&A get to everything, but I'm panicked right now because I've got about 6 minutes and you've got like 50 questions left. So I'm going to do my best. We need to draft lots of all linemen in the next 2 years. Unfortunately, no first round picks. Yes, thankfully, Green Bay does have a good track record of finding offensive linemen in later rounds, but they're going to need to do that at a high level. Jaden Reed, I think it was Tom Silverstein, it was Thanksgiving or the week after is what they're targeting for Jaden. Matt LaFleur is still a good coach. Much like a relationship, things can get stale and you have to find a way to be better. Hopefully this forces Matt to really change. Again, an evolution needs to take place with Matt and with this offense. I think that there's a good chance the offensive line actually looks better than with Ryan at center. E looked out of sorts at center. Unfortunately, if that happens, E will get back for the playoffs to play center again. If he gets back, though, they don't have to play him at center. If Sean Ryan looks great at center, you just put Elton back at guard. So if in fact, Ryan looks amazing at center, you just put Elton back in. Probably at right guard is probably where you need to go. I don't think you're switching things around too much, but they would probably play with that a little bit at that time. I feel like we talked about this 2022 with Rodgers throwing the screen when there was a stacked box. There was certainly some conversation at that time for sure. What is your hope level at the remainder of the season? I just truly don't see a path to the Super Bowl, which is so insanely disappointing. Wesley, we're a week at a time now. Super Bowl talk is now stupid. You just got to get better, and we take it a week at a time and see if Green Bay can get better incrementally to get hot at the right time and hopefully be playing their best football at the end of the season. Matt Steno-Butkus need to do whatever it takes to fix the offensive line. If it's playing Kennard and Belton do it, everything should be on the table. That I agree with. Andy, happy hump day. Probably a dumb opinion, but I believe having a good defense might be allowing Matt to be too cute, but O-line is doing absolutely no favors. Yeah, I mean, again, chicken or the egg, go play aggressive offense because you have a good defense. Don't play scared offense because you have a good defense. I would rather it be the other way around. Love you, Andy. I'll return once people chill. I think for the most part, especially in our members Q&A today, it's been pretty good, Big Baby Blue, but thank you for being a member and you are welcome back anytime, my friend. Ellie, thank you again. Thank you for doing super chats. Sorry I didn't get to your other one sooner, but yes, I will always get to super chats. Mark Chimura gave a good reason. LaFleur should be fired on ESPN Milwaukee. He said Holmgren always said focus on the little things or you'll let the big things slide. On 4th and 1 play, Jordan ran same direction and should have done a play fake and ran opposite direction. This is going to take a longer conversation than I have here, but that's not on Jordan. I don't think he has probably the autonomy to do that. Maybe he could have called a timeout in that situation, which is probably what he should have done. But I do think the little things which I've been stressing, especially on the offensive line, it's the fundamentals that need to be better, or this team is simply not going to improve. So the hard work has to start in earnest, and it needs to start right away. Can you explain the Packers audible system? I can't. I don't know. The reason I can't is because we don't know what Jordan has the autonomy to do and what he doesn't. Sometimes it's a can, sometimes it's a true audible, sometimes he's calling stuff at the line. What he has the autonomy for, we don't have a great feel for, and it's not something that usually teams are just going to give out willingly of like, yeah, here's what Jordan has all the opportunity to do and not to do. So unfortunately, we don't have a great answer for that. Given the Aaron Banks experience through 10 weeks, is there a real world chance they take the cap hit and move on? I doubt it, but it's not completely off the table. We'll do an episode on that at some point. Call me crazy, put Morgan at left tackle and Belton at right guard. I honestly just think Morgan needs to be benched right now than anything else. But again, willing to try things out. Ryan is solid. We'll see. Again, I want to watch the tape this week. I think he probably did, but again, I want to evaluate a little bit closer. You can into a pass or a run. Again, yes, you can into both, but you can also do a pass to a pass, a run to a run, one side to the other side. You can do a variety of different things with it. So if we already went over this, I'm at work and can't listen right now, but why is Matt LaFleur stopped calling play action? I don't know. We talked about that a little bit. I don't know. They need to get back to it. All right. I'm not there yet on fire Matt LaFleur, but a worst case, if he's not back next season, does Goody stay? I do think Goody's probably back no matter what. But again, I think the rest of the season is going to tell us a lot. What did you think of this team using Melton at wide receiver instead of Heath? I thought it was interesting to say the least. Matt talked about it after they wanted to get his speed on the field, which I do think does make some sense, but it didn't work out, I think, the way that they were hoping it to. Don't know why, but something in this past game broke me as a fan, not a playoff game, but stakes felt so high in an all-in game, and we get that kind of performance. Well, you did get a great defensive performance and a solid special teams performance, so maybe focus on that too, but the offense was extremely, extremely disappointing. And you're not the only one that feels that way, John. I have a friend who I know feels the exact same way. We need that 1-2 punch in the run game. Any news on Lloyd? Nothing as of yet. Great behind enemy lines today. Don't fire Matt LaFleur, but get an offensive coordinator. Happy not Victory Wednesday. Go Pack Go. It's within the realm of possibility in the offseason for sure. Everything will be fine, right? Buckle in. We're going to see. Stevie is our best corner. I need more from Gary. I feel better with Ryan at center. At least the last take, I love Josh Jacobs, but man, this team could use an Aaron Jones. They need a speed element to the run game for sure. They're missing that. They're missing Marshawn Lloyd right now too. I would consider hiring Dable for offensive coordinator if Matt stayed and they wanted to go in that direction. The Packers shouldn't be favorites to win or do anything way too inconsistent. It's fair, but I think, again, take a wider look approach on it. Not everything is just based on these last 2 weeks. If we let Matt go after the season, do you make Hafley an offer he can't turn down? No, I want to vet everything out and get everyone in a room and interviewing. By the way, Andy, I want to apologize for my comment about the ads. It was a tough morning, but I had no reason to do that. So I'm very sorry. I love the show and all you provide. Please forgive me. Chad, no worries. I appreciate it. I hope you got my response on that as well. I'm always cognizant of it. And like I said, one of those is going to fall off here in the near future, and it'll be probably a little bit more where I want it to be as well. But I appreciate the support. All right, I do got to get to the radio show. I did get to everyone's questions, so I had to go speed round at the end. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for all the support. I'll see you guys all very, very soon. Until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.